Okay, I put up a post recently on my Facebook and I talked about how a lot of the guests that I connect with are done through Instagram DMs, Twitter DMs, Facebook messages, and it's true. So my next guest, the guest that I am about to introduce to you, I met through Instagram, and it was just so amazing how we connected straight away. About 3 threads later, I was already like, hey, want to be my podcast? And she said yes, and yesterday we made that happen, and it was one of the most enjoyable conversations I've ever had. It was really nice to talk to a woman who has been through so much in her life and has been able to turn that experience into something positive. So Otessa, that is my new friend and guest for this podcast, is doing the most. I swear to God, she's doing the most and fighting for those who have no voice, and a lot of her work is in the Free West Papuan movement, and we talk about that. We talk about her experiences of being a young mother, bringing life into this world as a young teenager, and we talk about how she overcame that and all the learning experiences that have come with it. So it was honestly amazing. Otessa, you really do inspire me. Feel free to connect with me on social media. I'd love to hear your thoughts, any comments, any feedback. That'll be awesome, and please enjoy the podcast, and yeah, talk to you soon. We're gonna be good. Okay, so I know you can hear yourself quite clearly, but still speak up as much as you can. Okay, cool. And you're more than welcome to take videos and tag me on Instagram. Cool. Okay, sister, we good? All right, can you hear me?
Yes,
testing 1 2. Where's your phone? Put it like, make it look very professional. Okay. So women can, oh, she's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. She's cute.
Okay. Ready? Okay. Oh,
yeah, but I don't no. Yeah, but no.
Yeah, me too. If I'm talking to someone that isn't Lily at Samoa. Because then you don't judge me. Okay, cool. I usually do my usual talofa lava.
Yeah, talofa lava.
Yeah, talofa lava is good
for me.
Alright, cool. Ready? 1 2 3, go. Alright, talofa lava malo so for maua malelangi mama. My name is Tima Lui, and I am here doing a Tima Talks podcast with the amazing Otessa. And I say that about all my guests. I always say that they're all amazing because they legit are. And this is so funny how it happened. Before I introduce you properly, well, I'll let you introduce yourself. I want to talk about how this happened. How many DMs was it? Probably about 3. 3. We DM'd, and then 3 DMs, literally 3 threads later. Hey, want to be my podcast? And look at God, He made it happen. So thank you so much for making time. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you first for having me. My name is Otessa Tuisila. I am a student at University of Otago. And yeah, I'm Samoan. I was born and raised in Samoa. I study Bachelor of Oral Health at the dental school in Otago, and
yeah, and you're just awesome. But what I really love about you is that you shared a little bit about yourself on the DMs, which was like 3,000 word essay on the DMs. Do you know how hard that is to read? Legit took me hours to read. Nah, that's good. But I love that you shared some of your story, and I'd like to ask you about that. Yes. But yeah, talk to us about how you ended up here in New Zealand, where you grew up, and about your beautiful daughter and all the learnings that have happened over this part of your life.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Samoa. My mum is from Bawala and my dad is from the village of Vaiala. We moved to Wellington when I was 13, 14, so that I could get an education. My parents thought that was what was best for me. So we lived in Wellington for 5 years. After graduating high school, I moved back to Samoa for 1 year. And then I fell pregnant. I moved to Australia and worked and lived there for 2 years. And then I moved back to Wellington to be with my family for a year and a half. I worked in the Pacific Health Unit and the Be Healthy Dental Hubs in Wellington, and then I got a scholarship to go to University of Otago, so I've been really blessed.
You've had quite a busy life for such a young person, because how old are you? 25?
I'm 25.
And you talked about having a baby.
Yes.
At such a young age.
I did.
Now, I don't know about other Samoans, but I know that for the I know for most Samoans that when you have a baby at such a young age, it's not exactly a positive thing. It's not something that's widely celebrated. Can you talk to us about that experience of having a baby, bringing life into this world at such a young age?
Yeah, I was very young. I was 18 when I fell pregnant. I was 19 when I gave birth to her. Yeah, you're right. It was really hard to come through that. There was a very it was a big learning experience for me. I did find that I didn't have a lot of role models that were or offered. I didn't have a lot of role models or a lot of say it.
No, you take your time, girl.
Yeah, there were a lot of barriers for me as a young mother. I felt hopeless. I felt there was a lot of shame and a lot of discrimination, definitely. So I had to, come through all of that, but also just having positive role models and feeling that there were opportunities for me after there was a life after teen pregnancy was really hard to envisage. So that was learning experiences for me were hard to identify. I was it took me a long time to actually be able to say, hey, you did that, and be proud of myself. It felt really like it was low after low after low. There wasn't a lot of support for me as a young Pacific woman, especially. Not just meaning financial support, there wasn't a lot of support for me for my mental health. So that was a big journey for me.
You shared that you had been ostracized from your family.
Yes.
And can you explain why you think that happened?
Yeah, definitely.
Because definitely not. It's not an uncommon thing for Samoan families. There is a lot of, like I said, there is a lot of shame attached to unplanned pregnancies, or not just teen pregnancies. I mean, you can be a teenager and be married, and it's not shameful at all. So it's sort of that. Coming back to. That was a really, really tough time for my family. But it was also, it was a big learning experience for me as an individual. It's really hard to speak as an individual, as a Samoan person, because we don't, that's not how we operate. We are collective people. We're collective, absolutely.
So it is really hard to take yourself and prioritize yourself, but it's needed. We need to do that. So actually being able to say, to identify what I needed to prioritize in my life at that time was really tough, but really, really, really essential. And it would have saved me a lot of heartache and trauma if I was able to be like, okay, well, this is what I have to deal with, and these are the things that are actually not my priority. These are the things that I'm not responsible for. I'm not responsible for all of these feelings of shame and all of these other feelings that were really projected onto me by people that I hurt and that I do love. I was just young, and if I had some more guidance, a little more guidance and compassion, then I could have turned my life around a lot faster than I was able to.
I love that you've been able to identify every single area of need in that situation, and being able to articulate it in a way that's so empowering, because I can, just you being so vulnerable and sharing your story and sharing your emotion, I mean, any young woman that would listen to this would think, you know, who is about to give life into this world. I don't like to say pregnant just because she's gonna have a baby. Like, who's gonna bring life? Because that's a big thing.
It is.
Yeah, to bring life into this world and to listen to your story and then give her some hope that there is a purpose for her. There is more for her out there. So I want to just thank you, a huge whakawhitai for. We just talked about not being able to speak someone properly, but a huge thank you for sharing your story. I love that. How is your relationship now with your family?
Oh, beautiful. Kids are just, they're magical.
They really are. Like, they bring unicorns and sunshine and rainbows into the house. I swear to God.
They do. She really brought my family together. We were able to say, hey, you know, like, these are, all of these other things don't actually matter. This is what matters most, and you matter most, and you're more important than any other, all those other feelings and all those other people.
I love that, because I've heard of so many stories where babies are born into shame, and to the point where their families constantly remind them, your mum was a little pakmoko when you were born. So the fact that your little girl gets to be born and gets to live in love, I love that. It's so cool. But talk to us about why we're here. Like, this is so cool. I mean, thank you for sharing a part of your story, a huge part of your story. I mean, I don't know, I think you're my first ever guest to show that much emotion, and I really appreciate that vulnerability, because that just shows that that you're a real person. You know, that like, you're just like, you're at such a young age, you're doing some amazing things, but you're just a real person. I love that. Thank you. Now, when we were DMing, what were we even talking about? I forgot. I don't forget. I don't have the courage to say what we were talking about. So basically what happened, this is really funny. I was lying in bed and I saw that Otessa had followed me. And then I followed her back, of course. And then I've tried to follow everyone back. But yeah, I followed her back. If I don't follow you back and you're listening to this, DM me, I'll follow you back. But I followed her back, and then she posted something on her story that I was just like, I cannot ignore this. I cannot not ignore this. Yeah. So
I have a presence that is sometimes controversial, sometimes, well, I don't know, I'll retract that. 9 out of 10 people that respond to my messages on social media agree with me, and they say, you know what, thank you for saying that, because I can't say it myself.
Right, me too, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
I think that they're controversial for the right reasons. I think that I have a responsibility to say the things because I can say them from a safe place, and I don't mean that I don't get a lot of
but you know what, there's nothing wrong with what you say, because what you're saying is legit factual, and what you had to share that day was not, like, it was, the reason why I felt strongly about it and actually wanted to reply, because I usually don't reply to people I don't know, and so the reason why I felt like I needed to reply is because I 100% agree with what you said. So we're not going to talk about what we were talking about in the DMs. I think what happens in the DMs stays in the DMs, but we will talk about Pasifika activism in the academic space. So talk to us about that topic, because I have no idea what I just said. I have no idea what it means. So yeah, if you could talk about that, that would be awesome.
Well, basically I have really struggled to find a place in academia for the last 4 years that I've been at university, where I could safely voice a lot of the things that I am concerned about and the issues that affect me outside of traditional academia.
Right.
So a lot of the things that I want to say in these spaces where I can feel them, you know, affecting me, I'm not able to say. I've been told they don't belong there. I've been told they have no space there, i.e. racism, i.e. you know, systemic racism, in the way that it just creates those disparities for Pasifika people, for Māori people, who I mean, when I say Pasifika, I mean Māori, but I I class them in this, or actually not all the time, but in general, when I talk about Pasifika in like brown, from in a brown woman context, I include wahine in it as well. So do I. So I think that for me, that's been a real struggle for me, because everything that affects, you know, Indigenous people affects our performance and our capacity to function at you know, the level that we can. Our potential is actually so much higher than what it is, you know, and then all the results that we're seeing, and that's because we are not able to air these issues out in the space that it needs to be aired out in. So I think that my role that I'll be going into next year as the public relations officer and or campaigns officer for the University of Otago's
Student Association?
not Pacific Island Students
Pacific,
Association.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
so that is the Samoan students, Tongan students, Cook Island students. You know, all of these different associations from the university will be. I want to try to just, first of all, be able to bring this type of act. I don't like labels, but I mean, we need them sometimes.
Yeah.
Bring these conversations into an academic space.
Right, yeah.
So the first thing I think that we really need to do as a community, as a Pacifica community, is really redefine what activism is. The first thing you think of when someone says activist is like
radical,
yes,
yeah,
some
extreme,
crazy white person
right, yeah,
out on the street with a microphone, you know. And so that is so harmful. There is so much shame and there's just the stigma attached to activism that really is really holding us back. As everything we do is like activism.
Yeah.
I think that just
the mouth movement, you know what I mean? And this is what, you know, Chanel, if you're listening, Chanel put it into amazing words. He said that why would you call someone an activist for wanting human rights, for wanting clean water, for wanting this and that, you know, basic human rights. Why would you call them an activist? So I'm since learning that from the lovely Chanel, the uro level Chanel, I've just been like, that's so true. Like I learned so much on this podcast. I love it. And
there especially needs to be a space for Pacifica activism, because the way that the rest of the world sort of thinks of human rights is very different to the concept of like Indigenous human rights. Indigenous human rights encompasses land rights, water rights. Right. Human rights in the more like Eurocentric way that they look at it is literally just the human body. Yeah. And it's very different, and the conversation changes dramatically when you adopt that Indigenous lens and you say, okay, well, like I have this connection that you cannot detach me and from the land and from the water, and so everything that affects, you know, that you're doing that's affecting my land and my water is then affecting me, and you are breaching my human right. Like we really need to take that stance and really need to fight and join, you know, like I don't want to sound biased, but
oh, you sound biased, girl. You go hard. You sound however you want to sound.
You know, I am a part of Amnesty International, a volunteer regional organizer, and I am often addressing the underrepresentation at a national level. And you know, it's really hard for me to stand up and say, why can't I see someone that looks like me making these big decisions when no one wants to, you know, when we're actually not putting our hands up. And there is obviously it's not a two-dimensional conversation, it's very, very complex, but we need to be represented, which means we need to put our hand up and you know, go for these roles. There are opportunities for growth there. And our voices need to be heard. This is the Pacific.
Yeah, I think that the climate change action is doing a really good job of that. I think the amount of Pacifica lead, I'm not going to call them activists, I'm going to call, what should we call them? Advocates. I think Pacifica, that's huge. That, you know, you look at the Pacifica climate change space, it's huge. And like Mary, one of our mutual friends, is one of them. So yeah, I think that people, if you look at that for an example. What do they call? What's Brianna's group called?
Pacific Warriors.
Pacific Warriors. Pacific Climate Warriors on Instagram. Definitely check it out, and then look at an issue that you feel comfortable, that you are passionate about, and go for it. Now I need to start taking my own advice. What should I do? what should I step into? West Papua. Oh yeah, of course. I've actually interviewed 3 different.
Incredible.
Advocate. So Wensilaus Fatubun, and he is a cameraman, a documentary maker. That's on my Facebook page. Who else did I interview? I don't know how to pronounce their names. And then Dr. Marie Leadbeater. So she's, I don't know if you've heard of those names.
I've heard of Marie.
Marie. Yeah. So she came to my house in Rio. Oh my gosh. she was like so humble. She caught the train all the way to my house. But anyway,
amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And I was part of the Oceania Interrupted group.
I just met Jasmine yesterday.
Oh, is it Leilani
Yeah, Leilani and Jasmine.
yeah.
I've just been put in contact with Leilani because we're planning this big action in December.
She is like,
amazing.
Don't mess with her. do not come for her.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
That's
so
what we
cool.
need. We need because she set such an amazing example.
Yeah. What are some? What advice would you give to someone a young woman of color that wants to get into that but doesn't know how to start because they just don't have the confidence or they just don't understand the importance of it? What advice would you give them?
I think for me, it took actually having a friend that was affected by one of my friends who I had known for 4 years, and the beginning of this year I was talking to him, and I'd always known that he was from West Papua, and I'd always known that this was going on. I've been active in the Free West Papua movement for a long time, but I never actually asked him his personal story until this year. And so we did that, and I just it absolutely broke my heart, and I thought, why have I been so quiet for so long? This does not make sense. We are both, expected to function at the same level as everyone else, but I'm carrying around a lot of trauma. I cannot imagine how much he is carrying around with him, and what can I do as his friend? Not just as his friend, to help him and show him that I care and I see him and I love him and he's not alone.
Cool.
Yeah. And so if you are out there and you're thinking, you find some a connection that and once you're able to see yourself or someone that you know and care about and love, even if it's someone that has got a daughter and you sort of in the same situation, put yourself in their shoes. It's much it's just a different game. You'll just feel compelled. You won't be able to not speak up.
True. Now let's talk about, because speaking of West Papua, I know a lot of my family and friends that go to Bali, and I'm always so I had the opportunity. Confessions time. Where is the priest? I need to go confess. No, so I had an opportunity to go to Bali in August, right?
Yeah.
Because as research for my business that I'm doing in Fiji, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to go, but there was a part of me that said don't go. Yeah. But it looks so lovely.
It does. It
looks so beautiful, Bali. I just can't do it. I couldn't do it. And also because when I did my live talks, so because my talk show used to be called Live Talks, when I did my Facebook Live conversation with these 3 West Papuan advocates, amazing advocates, my page got hacked into, and they were sending me death threats.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have had so many death threats.
I these people, and 2 of them lived in Bali.
Yeah.
And I think they were soldiers or something, but I got death threats you better shut, you're talking shit, you don't know anything, you're talking about, I will kill you. And it was and I sent it to Leilani, and I sent it to Wensilaus, and they said, hey, look, they're not going to do anything, just ignore it, carry on doing their thing. But do you think our Pasifika people should be boycotting Bali?
Well, it's such because it's so cheap. And everyone sort of just gets caught up in that, and it is so gorgeous and it's so glam-worthy. But if you really there are Indigenous people there. We scream and we shout about all of our Indigenous rights that are being violated, and we're being exploited, and all of our natural resources. If the whole boycott Bali for the Free West Papua doesn't really float your boat, think about the Indigenous people of Bali who are being exploited at this this insane, it's inhumane what is happening to them and their land there, that no one's talking about. Why is it so cheap? There is nowhere as cheap as Bali, and you have got to, after all of the excitement and all of that, you've actually got to sit down and think about the personal impact that it's going to have.
That's so true. And I've heard someone I forgot who it was. Even if I did remember who it was, I wouldn't say their name, but they put on their Instagram story, they're saying, you know, we shouldn't blame the local Balinese people trying to make a living. You know, we shouldn't like boycott them because how are they going to make a living if we stop going there and blah blah and all of the stuff. And I thought, Sunga, Sistra,
No,
this is the story, you know. But talk to us about where that, how the tourism industry in Bali affects the people of West Papua.
Yes, please.
Yeah, let's go.
The tourism industry in Bali contributes to 80% of their economy, the Balinese economy.
Right.
So also it's just something. 85% of the tourism industry is not owned by Balinese, by indigenous Balinese people. So that narrative is actually just irrelevant. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like you're not contributing to local people when you're going over there, but you're actually contributing to foreigners. It does not make sense. That narrative is false.
And a lot of those people that own businesses, because I follow a lot of them, they're all Australian owned businesses. A lot of them are. I know that Kind Cafe, one of the cafes that I follow on Instagram, they're owned by Australian. The tattoo places are all owned by Australians.
All Australians.
White people, you are contributing. Don't talk about colonialism or whatever colonization when your ass is out there. Supporting them, jeepers.
Yeah, it's you know, there's so many different aspects of that we should be talking about, and it like the tourism, that's the impact that it's having on, like, for example, your example, that narrative of why should we blah blah. Where it's relevant to West Papua is that the Indonesian military is funded by this economy that we are feeding constantly, and it's
say
also
it louder for the people in the back.
It's
seriously.
also important to talk about what type, or like where the money's going. They're not buying just guns. They're buying machetes. They're buying barbed wire. If you think about that, that's the type of torture and oppression that we are allowing, and we are helping to contribute to. They're not just being shot and gunned down in the street. There are machetes. They're being tortured. They're being tortured.
Beheaded.
It's not even.
We're not even being dramatic. Like,
no,
legit,
there is, and it's still happening. On September the 23rd, 41 students and high school students were killed in Wamena in West Papua for protesting peacefully. It's not even just like the people that have been killed. It's in every single system. Look at the disparities in the health sector, in the education. Like Indigenous people in West Papua who are out, they are part of the Pacific, you know?
Okay, I love that. Now I wasn't gonna, I'm being triggered now, just listening to that. So you're saying 41 high school students were
high
killed,
school and university
students were killed for peacefully protesting on their own land.
On their own land.
So if you're gonna put up Free West Papua, the sign, what is it called?
The hashtag.
If you're gonna hashtag Free West Papua, if you're gonna make a statement, stop supporting the nation, I wouldn't call them colonizers. What are they? Would you? Stop supporting the people.
Call them colonizers.
Yeah, colonizers.
It's controversial.
You know what? Stop going to Bali. Stop going there. What else can they do apart from stop going to Bali?
First of all, do the research.
Do the research.
Look it up. Boycott BP. Boycott the palm or everything. The palm oil products. Don't buy the mee goreng noodles, Indomie, whatever that's called. Stop buying that shit. You know, like it's really and people go, oh well, it's just one. It's like, okay, well, it's just one of you. It's 100 people on the daily.
Okay,
it all adds up.
Yeah, it all adds up, absolutely. And that's true. Yeah, so I guess just hearing that 41 young people were killed, that triggered me. So if you're going to do hashtag Free West Papua, keep the same fucking energy.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry to swear. Please God forgive me, Jesus Christ. But keep the same energy and not feed into the group that is going that affects the indigenous people.
It's a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
You know, when you decide you're going to be an advocate for people,
right?
That is a lifetime commitment, because what you've done is you've gone and said, all right, well, I stand for these people, and then people associate you with that cause. If you're going to say, you know, Free West Papua, then people are going to say, okay, well, and also like people in West Papua are watching and they're going, hey, like this person is fighting for me, and I really appreciate that. Do not let them down. It is our responsibility to fight for people that cannot fight for themselves.
Amen. I love that. Thank you for being brave and courageous enough to share that. And because you're going to have a lot of people like, but still making excuses.
Yeah.
But here you are, girlfriend, you know, your hard work will pay off. I love that.
And every single time I get a pushback, I have to look back at the reason that I started. I have to go back and look at the stories and look at how many people, like, okay, so one person doesn't really like what I'm doing, but every time I do it and I say it and I repeat it, it just like the potential for that change just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and just keeps multiplying every time I repeat this message. Like, just the pros really outweigh the cons. I mean, the cons are just on a personal level, like I'm getting threats and like I get like called out and all of that shit. I don't really care. For me, the pros of my voice, me amplifying those messages that I believe are really important, far outweigh the cons. So I can deal with a little bit of shit because I know that I mean, look, I know it's so funny, like we say it like it's nothing, but it's really
someone that's listening, they're like, wow, they got like that's a big deal.
It is.
That's like counseling, you're getting counseling material.
Yes,
but for us, we're like, yeah, we got death threats.
I got a funny. I've got some funny ones as well.
Like,
but I mean, also like not to.
It's like,
these are really. I can say it and we can laugh about it because we can say that safely for a lot of people.
That's true.
This is a real.
Like some people can't even handle being trolled, or can't even handle being called out on social media, or can't even handle, then like then there's you. Oh yeah, you get death threats. Like that's crazy, man.
I mean. But I know that I can do it from a safe place, which is why I feel responsible, and that's the reason that I do it.
So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me to talk.
Yeah, I love that. Was there anything else you wanted to add, or should we just like spend the next 10 minutes just like talking about life? We can sit here and just like compliment each other. Like, you know, I'm feeling a bit low in my self-esteem. That'd be great. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But any plans to go back to Samoa? Like,
yes, I am.
You must miss it.
I do.
Because I didn't grow up in the islands. I'm born and bred here in New Zealand in Aotearoa. But when I do go back to the islands, I'm like, oh, I would love to live here. Like, it's just so slow and chill, and it's such a beautiful place.
It is a haven for me. I love it. I love to go back, and it is also sometimes a little bit sad to see just like the rapid growth that we're not. I mean, we say that you know, we are able to go back and practice all of you know, the way that our ancestors did, but we're actually like that's very, very rapidly changing. We can't. But it is still, you know, you go back and you see a family, and for me it's very nostalgic. So I am
like all your childhood memories. And so do you have a lot of friends that still live there? And
a lot
of them have gone around.
Yeah, most of them are actually in Auckland. A lot of my family's still there, and in Australia though. But yeah, I get to go back into my childhood home. And
just speaking of childhood, what was your upbringing like? Do you come from, because there's quite so for those of you who aren't familiar with Samoa, you know, some people might look at it like a poor humble country. No, there is a real elitist group there. There's an elite group, there's like a social, like what are you, where do you sit in Samoan society? We're poor. I'm poor, just putting it out there. I'm from Lefanga, we're poor.
No, I think, well, because I mean, I am advocacy. I never identify as that. We have a lot of German blood, but I just, so I said that because we are very lucky. We're not rich. We weren't rich in material things, or rich in terms of like we had a lot of money. We were very rich in our memories, and we all lived together in the same house, which is so we're rich in memories. And so I never look back at it and go, oh, I was so poor and all of this and that, because even though we weren't, you know, blessed with a lot of money, we were blessed in different ways. And for me, I think I'm even luckier that we didn't have a lot of money, and I had the upbringing that I had. I was very lucky. Yeah.
Oh, blessed. I love that. That's so cool. Yes. What advice would you give to a mother who is very young and is about to give birth into this world?
I would say to her.
What would you say? What would you say to your young 18-year-old self?
Oh my God, to my young 18-year-old self.
With tears in your eyes.
I would say, hold on. I'd say, man, I hate saying this because people send this to me and it didn't make sense, but cliche things are cliche because they're true. So I would say hold on, and it is not the end. There is this crazy stereotype that when as a teen mom that your life is over, which I believed in, and which is really a lot of the reason that I've tried and worked so hard, because I've tried so hard to just emulate that stereotype and break it. And so I would just say that nothing is too far or beyond you. You can really do whatever you want. It's just about taking baby steps, and like you had this big goal, write it down, and then figure out how to get their practical action steps. Seek help if you think you need it. Don't let anyone sort of shame you out of seeking help. Whatever help looks like to you.
Don't be too proud.
If that looks like going to a church, if that looks like going to see a therapist, if that looks like just going to a doctor, just taking time out, going to the movies by yourself, do it, prioritize yourself for your baby's sake.
Self-care.
Self-care.
Yeah, and I love that you're mentioning this, because I don't know if you shared it in the beginning of the podcast. Feels like I've been talking to you for a whole week. But you also mentioned that you were seeking help as well, and so I love that you're sharing that.
Yes,
it's so cool.
I have been seeing a therapist for 3 years now. I have been I've suffered a lot of mental illness for a long time, since I was 16. And I never was able to seek help. I was always too embarrassed. Yeah. And also on top of that, I didn't have the money. But I finally just really, 3 years ago, I noticed I was so lethargic, and I didn't have the motivation to do anything, or if I did, I didn't have the physical strength, and I couldn't put the two and two together until I actually went to a doctor, and I was like, hey, all of these things are happening to me. I don't have the motivation to get out of bed. And he was like, okay, well, like that sounds like depression. And like you've had a long history of depression since you were a teenager. And I was like, well, I don't cry all the time. And he was like, that's not what depression is. It was actually being like, it's a chemical imbalance, and like although it all of like the other aspects of your life sort of like contribute to that, and you have to get right biologically, and then you can start to actually help and fix just small parts of your life at a time. Cut that toxic relationship, cut that toxic friendship, cut that toxic habit, slowly, one step at a time, and all of that is going to really, and it did for me, help me push through. I never took I don't take the medication now, but just like seeing my therapist every week, really, I have a good cry, Wednesday, 2:00 every single week. I'll have a nice cry, and then, but it's just really about being able to prioritize yourself for 1 hour, being able to be really, really honest, and say like, this is, all of my emotions are really, really valid, and they are valid in that space. I feel like, I think the other day I had like this ridiculous cry about like not being able to get my nails done, and I thought like this is ridiculous, I should not be crying about this, but like it's not about that tiny little thing, because in that moment I was like, why am I feeling so crazy? But it's actually not about my nails. It was about, I was not able to for like 3 weeks put myself first, because I was so exhausted and burnt out.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that you've been able to articulate it in a way that I understand, because in my head, because I've never been through, praise the Lord, never been through anything like that, but when you said crying about not being able to, in my head, like just listening to you just like 3 seconds ago, I'm like, nails? Really? I'm a nails girl too. I'm a nails girl as well. But I thank you for explaining that, and I love that you've explained it, because the young woman that's listening is going to be like, oh true, maybe there's more to it, maybe I do need to seek help. And that's I love, thank you. And I love that you mentioned the money part, because sometimes we tend to put off any external help because of money, but money comes and goes. Your mental health stays with you. Girl, make the investment.
I love that. Make the investment. They really, they just give you all the tools that you can use in everyday life, not just when you feel like you're being backed into a corner. It's like when it's before that, it's like when you feel like someone said no to you, or someone didn't open the door for you. That's like You know, when someone walks through the door and then they fucking leave it,
Yeah,
and
oh
you
my
have to
gosh.
walk through it, that pisses me off. And
Yeah.
it's like little things like that, little microaggressions that really, really build up until you get to something so ridiculous. Like, I can't get my nails done. I'm so pissed off. It's not about your nails. It's about all of this
Everything
time
that-
and
yeah.
this build up, and you need to be addressing it when it happens
Amen.
in a healthy way.
You're like legit one of my favorite guests I've ever had. And I've interviewed, like I said before, I've interviewed over hundreds of people. Like, in the 5 years that I've been doing this, I think you're one of my most favorite guests, and I really appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I'm legit being for real. And like, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I really appreciate this. I love our corridor. I love that we've just gone straight to the point.
Yeah.
Like there's, no, I don't want to diss other guests, but like I love that. I
Yeah.
really, really love that we've gone straight to the point. Was there anything else you'd like to add? Oh, does it have to end? Well, yeah, kind of it has end, but I wish it didn't have to.
No, just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for like this platform, for really, for reaching out.
Thank you for following me. It's so cool. Like, you know, so many people like have followed me in the last week. I'm just like, oh, that's so cool that you're interested in what I'm passionate about. That's awesome.
I love the way that you do this. It's not an interview, it's a conversation that really...
That's the goal, my sister. That's the goal. Oh, that's so cool. Thank you so much, Rafte Lover, for your time and for our talanoa. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, those of you who are listening. You can, on the description below there, well, it was not even YouTube, what am I on about? You can reach out to Otessa.
Yeah.
Am I saying it right?
Yeah,
Otessa. Okay. You can reach out to Otessa on social media. If you do follow me on Instagram, I'm mostly on Instagram, on YouTube and Facebook as well. I will tag her, so give her a follow. Keep up to date with her adventures. Thank you so much. And yeah, have an amazing week, because it is going to be Monday now. Or when I upload this will be Monday. Have a great week, guys, and take care.
Bye.
Oh, yay!
Oh, thank you, sis. Oh, thank you so much.
How long was that?
A long time.
It was great. I had so many views. Like, oh my
gosh,
friends,
shit,
come
were
on.
you going
Have-
Yes, please. I'm doing
Hi everyone, just finished doing a podcast with this beautiful girl. It will be dropping tomorrow.
it. Yay. Bye.
Enjoy. Hi everyone, just finished doing
Oh, I can hear it.
On what is it on Facebook?
Tima Talks. It will be dropping tomorrow. Enjoy. Hi everyone. Oh, you're so pretty.
Stop
I
it.
know, you're so pretty.
You're pretty
Both of
too.
you are so pretty.
Ugh.
So pretty.
No, sometimes I feel like I'm pretty, like after doing my makeup, and then I go and take stuff and I'm like, oh, never mind. I'm like, never mind. The lighting in here is
I
real
always
bad
felt
though.
like doing makeup when I turned 30.
You didn't start doing makeup till
It's
10:30.
it's not a big thing in Fiji. Like, girls
Yeah.
wouldn't do it if you go out clubbing or, you know.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
an everyday thing.
Do you know what? When I was-
But Australia's so different.
Oh,
I
with
don't
the
want-
makeup.
Yeah, with the makeup, like my cousin has to wear it just to go to the dairy.
That
and
is
buy
so
milk.
true.